Okay, fair warning, before this video starts, please don't mind the audio because the audio was just kind of all over the place because I actually had issues with my microphone because we tried doing a new microphone setup and that didn't really work out, but I'll fix that later in my next reviews. But this is a good test to figure out how we're going to do our reviews on this channel for vehicles. Well, we're not focused on reviews, but sometimes if we come across a vehicle, we'll do a review. So, here is the long-term review of my 2016 Ford Fusion at 200,000 miles. Enjoy. This here is my 2016 Ford Fusion Energi. Now, it is a 2016, so this isn't a new car review. Obviously, if you guys are clicking on this video, you just want to see how it's been running for the last 200,000 miles. Now, it is a hybrid. It's got 200,000 miles on it. And, you know, me and Rob decided to take it out here in the middle of nowhere just to do this review. So you can kind of hear the nature behind us. And I think it was kind of perfect that we found a closed road right over here so no one could really bother us. So you're looking at it, yeah, it's dirty, but you know, we just had some fun exploring and just wanted to tell you guys how it's been for the last 200,000 miles. So now we're gonna show you guys the inside and show you guys the wear and tear on the vehicle. Now I'm going to start from the front to the back of the Ford Fusion here. Now starting with our engine bay. As you guys can see, we have our 2.0 Atkinson engine mated with our ECVT on our Ford Fusion Hybrid. Now, this produces about 195 horsepower, but being at the mileage as it is, it's pretty much weak at this point. 0 to 60 gets me about like 9 seconds. It is a little bit dismal at this point, and the motor mounts are starting to show their wear, causing the engine and the transmission to jerk quite noticeably. However, I would have to say that the only major issue I had with this vehicle would be the front wheel speed sensors. Now, the reason why I say that is because the front wheel speed sensors, when they went out, it felt like the whole entire transmission was shaking its nuts loose. Now, replacing the two front wheel speed sensors remedied the problem, and like I said, that would probably be the only major issue I had on this vehicle. Now, with its age, one thing I like to mention is the hybrid system, and the hybrid battery is getting weaker every time I come in. I actually noticed the Ford Fusion actually starting up to charge the battery before driving it. Not only that, it actually is losing its efficiency in the gas mileage, before getting about 43, 44, to now the average about 38, 39 miles to the gallon. And the last thing I like to talk about would be the plug-in hybrid system. Now, it used to get about 10 to 15 miles per charge, but now, with its age, it gets about anywhere from 7 to 10 miles per charge. Now, that's everything I just want to talk about underneath the hood of the vehicle, so let's move on to the inside. Now we're inside our Ford Fusion. As you can see, it's actually done pretty well. After 200,000 miles, the interior is pretty much intact. Things I would have to mention here is that the electronic brake lever here, because I use this quite a bit, the paint's starting to fade, and then right over here our armrest, and this could be because being a mechanic, hopping in here, being all dirty, over time that I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, the pleather from Ford is starting to crack right over here on our center console. A couple other things, our steering wheel, it may look good right now, but if you look up close, it shows its wear after 200,000 miles. Honestly, grabbing it with dirty mechanic hands and everything like that, you could just see where it's just fully polished, but like the little things in here that you can't probably see right now. So, you know, roll B footage. Right up here, you're gonna see that our sunglass holder is holding up actually pretty well. And then our sun visors, the safety label eventually came off. And yeah, there is obviously dirt. I try to keep my hands clean, but being a mechanic, you can't get your hands 100% clean all the time. So, and including my head, because the roof liner is just, it has dirt. It has wear and tear, but it's not too bad for 200,000 miles. And it's not coming apart except for a little bit right up here in the front. And the knobs and the buttons still all work on this after 200,000 miles. So really, no complaint. So another thing I like to mention too is our Sync 2 radio. I've actually had problems with this in the past. So around probably after it cracked 100,000 miles, it completely crapped out on me. And Ford said I had to completely replace the whole entire Sync 2 unit. Turns out it was just a faulty programming because these are Microsoft Windows based, and unlike the Sync 3 that I have in my new Ford Maverick, which is Android based, the Sync 2 actually is a little bit laggy on this. However, No complaints after 200,000 miles because, you know, the touchscreen and everything like that still works great. Now, you're gonna see right here on top, around the plastic bevel where the Sync 2 radio is, that's where, you know, the trim actually starts to fade the paint a little bit. One fix that I did to fix that was get this seat mounted phone holder. Yeah, it gets a little bit wobbly when you drive, but it's honestly better than having it on the windshield or on my vent, because as you can see, my vents here are a little bit damaged. You know, everything doesn't really rattle as much, especially after 200,000 miles. You would think over the time, you know, Ford quality back in the early 2000s, I was always worried about the Ford quality where things would start rattling horrifically, because that's how it was, especially Ford vehicles from the 90s up till like 2012. And then when I got in the Ford Fusion, I was actually way more impressed because it was built like my mom's Lexus at the time. So pretty much everything here is still pretty solid. Nothing has really broke except for maybe one cover here. There is one cover over here that did break a while back. Yeah, the interior is pretty solid. Now let me show you guys the back of the Ford Fusion. So here we have our rear seat. After 200,000 miles, it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but again, right over here, we have some cracking over the years of just it being probably in the California sun. It turns out, what I've kind of learned by moving up here, cars look a hell of a lot better being older because, like I said, like I mentioned before, that paint fade that's on the front or A-pillar is just, yeah, the paint's unfortunately cracking after only 6 years of owning this vehicle. The one thing I noticed here would be this rip that's on the inside or in towards the center. Now this happened actually when the car was fairly new, and I just think someone had like something metal, I'm assuming like a pocket knife, but like closed in their pocket, and it was just sharp enough just to poke it. Other than that, this interior in the back, as you can see, after 200,000 miles, it's still actually holding up pretty well. And I still like how it's a 60-40 split. Now I have to just talk about the trunk, because even though it's nice to have a 60-40 split, I use this quite a bit going all the way down, because if anybody knows anything about Ford Fusion Energi batteries and the trunks, well, let me just show you guys what I mean. Like I said, Ford Fusion Energi trunks are just horrendous when it comes to space. Depending on the luggage, at a good time, I mean, you could fit one large luggage sideways, but then you couldn't fit really anything else. And I actually ended up trying to get creative because I have my charger on the right side here, and then I actually have an air pump for my tires on the left side. Now, these do come with a emergency tire patch kit, but because this not having a spare, I'll show you guys. This lives in my trunk too. This right here is a tire patch repair kit, as you can see here. This actually has saved my ass more than that little air compressor slash tire inflator thing has, because if you get anything a little bit like a penny size hole, you can't use it. And I learned that the hard way and ended up calling AAA and waiting for a tow truck. But that's because this is the plug-in variant of the Ford Fusion. This sucked having road trips, because you had to get creative with putting everything in your trunk and putting everything in your back seat, and it actually kind of pushed me to the fact of almost wanting to put in a roof rack on this vehicle. So if you're planning on purchasing a used Ford Fusion Energi, this might make or break your decision. And as a mechanic and as someone that owns a Ford Fusion Energi, I would just go with the hybrid variant, because like I said, there is absolutely no room to pretty much do anything here. And that is probably the biggest complaint of the Ford Fusion Energies, because the interior is still pretty decent, it holds up well. The engine, it's pretty much next to maintenance free. But then when it comes to this trunk, is this kind of worth it to you? Because for me, it's honestly not. But that's why I ended up getting a Ford Maverick, because moving out here, what, 2-3 months? And Robert's behind the camera if you guys don't know by now. What, we've done so much more with that Ford Maverick than I've done with my Fusion since I've been up here. And yeah, it just makes a big difference. And that's why I kind of went with the Ford Fusion, because I didn't need a trunk or a full-size truck And I bought the Ford Fusion thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna be great holding and hauling stuff, like at the time when I bought this for my business. And then when I wanted to go road tripping, then I realized this really wasn't the car for me. But at the same time, it still did me pretty well. Don't get me wrong, the trunk sucks, but to get me to point A to B, and still even now, because it is the daily beater, it still does great. Getting about 40 miles to the gallon, still hauling people around with Lyft and Uber out here in Washington. But then every time I look at this trunk, compared to now my Ford Maverick's bed, I'm just like, how did I live with this for the last 6 years? Now I could keep talking about this trunk and everything like that, but let's move on. Again, all the gripes I've told you about, it's because the car's at 200,000 miles. Can it be a little bit better? Sure, that's any automotive manufacturer that when they make a vehicle, you want it to last long. And then you could have those conspiracy theorists that talk about planned obsolescence, but you know, that's just, this is what it is. After 200,000 miles, after all the dents I put on it, after everything it's gone through, this vehicle has treated me well. Now I'm just going to voice over from here due to the fact that my microphone started having issues. The Ford Fusion Energi really hasn't done me wrong. It's 2022 and it's gone a long way with very little issues. So if you're planning on picking one up used, here are the results at 200,000 miles. And if you made it this far into the video, consider giving the channel a subscribe, a like, and comment below for any questions that you may have about the Ford Fusion Energi. And like I said at the very beginning of this video, this is my first time doing a car review and testing out seeing how I wanted to do a review on vehicles, so I decided to do my own. And now the other reviews that I'll be doing would be my brand new 2022 Ford Maverick and my buddy's brand new 2022 Mach-E. So if you're subscribed, look out for those videos, and also if you own a Maverick, look out for videos of tutorials, products, and reviews of accessories on the Ford Maverick. Again, my name's Nick, this is Mechanic Built, and until next time. What is it?
It's the 2022 Mach-E California Route 1.
Route 1.
Yep.
See, I completely butchered that, because I gotta play with that car more because somebody hasn't let me play with it enough. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Should I do like a Doug DeMuro?
I
Or I go like this?
I would, yeah. You can.